Imagine this for a second. It's Strasbourg, July 1518. Hot day. You see a woman, Frau Trofea, step out and just start dancing.
And not like, a celebration dance.
No, not at all. It's frantic, uncontrollable. She just keeps going day and night.
For days.
For days. And then other people start joining in. First a few dozen, then suddenly hundreds. Dancing until they collapse.
Some literally dying from exhaustion, heart attacks, strokes, right there in the street.
It sounds like something out of a bizarre storybook, but this actually happened. It's the Strasbourg dancing plague of 1518.
It's such a stark, almost unbelievable example of how societal pressure and, well, psychological strain can manifest physically on a massive scale. It's puzzled people for centuries.
Absolutely. And welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We dig into these kinds of fascinating stories from history, science, whatever grabs us, to give you that quick way to get informed.
Those aha moments.
Exactly. Today, we're diving into this mystery, the compulsive dancing that just took over a city. We'll look at what people wrote back then, city records, modern psychology, try to piece it together.
Yeah. The goal is really to understand the context, look at the big theories. Was it ergot poisoning, mass hysteria, something else?
And find connections to today, which are surprisingly there. Now, before we really get into the thick of 16th century Strasbourg, just a quick note. If you like exploring these kinds of topics, check out Mind Expansion Daily. We put out great info like this all the time.
Yeah, and if you enjoy what you hear today, please do like and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily. It helps us out a lot.
It really does. And if you're feeling extra supportive, you can even buy us a coffee. There's a link right in the description.
We also love hearing from you. We challenge you. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think about this dancing plague. Agree, disagree.
And please let us know where you're listening from. We're trying to reach people worldwide, so it's great to see where you all are.
Okay, so Strasbourg, 1518. To really get the dancing plague, you need to understand the city at that moment.
Right. It was a trade hub, about 20,000 people. Sounds decent, right? But beneath the surface, things were bad. Really bad.
Yeah, prosperous on paper maybe, but plagued by hardship. We're talking severe hardship. Archival records, like from the cathedral, show terrible harvest.
Which means food prices.
Through the roof.
Eh.
Wheat cost apparently jumped 500% in just 3 years, 1515 to 1518. People were literally starving.
And it wasn't just hunger. Disease was everywhere.
The bubonic plague had just swept through the year before, 1517, killed something like 16,000 people in the wider area. Imagine the fear, the trauma.
Unbelievable numbers. And then there was syphilis, the French disease they called it, spreading fast.
Affecting maybe 10% of Europeans by 1520. And its later stages. Neurological symptoms, confusion, madness, things that could look like, well...
Like uncontrollable behavior, exactly. So you've got starvation, plague, a terrifying new disease. How does a society even cope?
And that's not all. Socially, things were tense. Huge inequality. Maybe 30% of people were living on charity, begging. That breeds unrest.
You can feel the tension building. The peasants' revolt wasn't far off just a few years later in 1525.
Plus, you have this massive religious upheaval. Martin Luther's 95 Theses just hit in 1517, questioning everything about the church, about salvation.
So deep existential anxiety on top of everything else. Famine, disease, social breakdown, spiritual crisis.
It was a powder keg. Chroniclers at the time, like this guy Emlyn, specifically noted this strange epidemic of dancing and linked it directly to the despair, the psychological strain. A recent historical journal article explored this too.
Okay, so that's the setting, grim. Now, how did the dancing actually start and spread?
It begins with one person, July 14th, 1518, Frau Trofea. She just starts dancing in the street, erratically, can't stop.
Just one woman, initially.
Yeah, but then within days, about 34 others join her. Men, women, all seemingly compelled.
And it just snowballed from there.
Massively. By August, estimates say around 400 people were caught up in it, dancing nonstop. Some apparently for up to 6 days straight. No rest.
6 days? That's physically impossible almost. What did it look like? The accounts must be horrific.
They are. The Strasbourg Chronicle mentions people collapsing from exhaustion, having convulsions, screaming in pain, even foaming at the mouth. Terrifying to watch, let alone experience.
And the authorities, what did they do? They must have been baffled.
Totally baffled. The city physicians diagnosed it as hot blood, based on the old humoral theory.
Okay. So what's the cure for hot blood?
Get this, more dancing.
You're kidding.
Nope. They figured the dancers needed to sweat it out. So they built stages, hired musicians, basically encouraged it.
Oh no, that sounds like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Exactly what happened. It backfired spectacularly. Instead of helping, it just amplified everything. The frenzy intensified. We call it social contagion now.
And people died.
Yeah. At the peak, maybe 15 people a day were dying. Exhaustion, heart attacks, strokes. The total death toll is estimated around 400 by the time it ended in September.
400 people died from dancing.
From the effects of nonstop, uncontrolled dancing, yes. It also shut down the city. Trade stopped. Streets were blocked.
What else did the authorities try? When the dancing cure failed?
They got desperate. Imposed curfews, banned gambling, prostitution, likely fearing God's wrath. They organized pilgrimages, especially to the shrine of St. Vitus.
Ah, St. Vitus's dance. That's a term people might have heard. It's linked to neurological issues, right? Like chorea.
Exactly. Sydenham's chorea causes involuntary, jerky movements. So they associated this plague with St. Vitus, maybe hoping for divine intervention. It's even popped up in modern social media, weird comparisons to flash mobs gone terribly wrong.
And then it just stopped in September.
Pretty much just petered out mysteriously, leaving behind this memory of how fragile things could get.
It's such a bizarre event, but you mentioned this wasn't entirely unique.
That's a really crucial point. Strasbourg was maybe the most famous, deadliest case, but it wasn't alone. These dance manias popped up across Europe for centuries.
Really? Like when?
Well, back in 1374, there was a big outbreak in Aachen, Germany. Thousands dancing across Germany, the Low Countries, apparently jumping and howling.
Jumping and howling. Okay, that's even stranger.
And there's a story from 1278 about 200 people dancing on a bridge over the Maas River until it collapsed.
Oh my God.
And then you have tarantism in Italy, mostly from the 15th to 17th centuries. People thought a tarantula bite made them sick, and the only cure was this frantic dancing, the tarantella.
So this kind of thing, this collective compulsion, has historical precedent. How do experts explain these now?
Mostly, they're seen as stress-induced psychogenic illnesses. Mass hysteria, basically.
Okay.
A 2023 Psychiatry Journal study talked about this triggered by intense collective trauma, like the famines and plagues they were facing.
And we still see echoes today, right? You mentioned modern parallels.
We do. Maybe not dancing plagues, but similar collective responses. Think about the Tanganyika laughter epidemic in 1962. Over 1,000 people, mostly students, affected by uncontrollable laughter fits. It forced schools to close.
Wow. Laughter.
Yeah. It sounds funny, but it was deeply disruptive and distressing. And online today, people draw these parallels. It shows this isn't just some medieval weirdness. It's about how human groups react under extreme pressure.
All right, so let's dig into the main theories for Strasbourg specifically. What could have caused hundreds of people to dance themselves to death? Theory 1, ergot poisoning.
Right, ergotism. This points to a fungus, Claviceps purpurea. It grows on rye, which, as we said, was a staple food, especially for the poor.
And this fungus does what?
It produces alkaloids, chemicals that are actually similar in structure to LSD.
Whoa, okay. Hallucinogenic.
Potentially, yes. Would also causes convulsions, muscle spasms, which could look like dancing, and it messes with the neurotransmitters. Historically, big ergot outbreaks were deadly. They called one the Holy Fire back in 994 AD, killed thousands.
And the conditions in 1518 fit.
Seems like it. A 2024 toxicology review mentioned ergot likes wet summers, which 1518 apparently had. And the symptoms reported twitching, mania, exhaustion. They do line up pretty well with ergotism.
But there are arguments against it, right? Doesn't ergot usually cause other symptoms too? Like gangrene?
That's the main counter-argument. Gangrene, where your limbs basically die and rot, wasn't widely reported among the dancers. But proponents suggest maybe it was a lower sustained dose, enough to cause the neurological effects, the trance-like state, without the full-blown gangrene immediately.
So a kind of simmering poisoning?
Possibly. It's debated. People have even linked ergot to things like the Salem witch trials online, pointing to its potential hallucinogenic behavior-altering effects.
Okay. Fascinating but not conclusive. What's the second major theory? Mass hysteria.
Or mass psychogenic illness, the more clinical term. This theory focuses on psychology. The idea is that under extreme, inescapable stress, groups can collectively develop physical symptoms without an underlying physical cause.
Like a conversion disorder, anxiety manifesting physically.
Exactly. A 2023 study in psychological medicine framed it that way. And Strasbourg in 1518 talked about extreme stress, famine, disease, social chaos. The population was incredibly vulnerable psychologically.
And the cultural context would feed into that, the belief in curses like St. Vitus.
Absolutely. If you believe that uncontrollable dancing is a possible punishment from God or a known affliction, and you're under immense stress, seeing someone else start dancing, it could trigger the same symptoms in you through suggestion. It provides a framework for the experience.
And then the authorities building stages and hiring musicians.
Basically validated and amplified it. It's like saying, yes, this is real, and this is how we respond. It fuels the social contagion. We see similar patterns in modern outbreaks, like that fainting epidemic on the West Bank in '83. A recent online poll showed many people still lean towards hysteria for these kinds of events.
So it's less about a physical cause and more about collective psychological breakdown.
That's the core idea. But there's also a third angle, which combines psychology with broader social and cultural factors.
Okay, what's that?
Historian John Waller argues strongly for this. In his book, A Time to Dance, A Time to Die, he suggests it was a kind of mass dissociative trance, a culturally shaped response to overwhelming trauma in a very superstitious time.
So like an extreme coping mechanism gone wrong?
Sort of, perhaps linked to religious fervor too. The pilgrimages, the seeking of divine help. Maybe some saw ecstatic dancing as a form of desperate prayer or catharsis, trying to appease an angry god or expel perceived evil.
And you mentioned the gender aspect earlier. Most dancers were women.
Around 75% estimate suggests women were highly marginalized then. One analysis in History Today proposed that, perhaps unconsciously, the dancing became this bizarre, involuntary outlet for their powerlessness and stress, a form of protest almost.
Wow, so many layers. Poverty, disease, religion, social structure, gender.
And all happening during that intense period of pre-Reformation uncertainty, created this perfect storm of psychological vulnerability.
Pulling all this together, what are the big takeaways? Any surprising insights?
One really striking thing is that concept of iatrogenic harm we touched on. Harm caused by the treatment.
The authorities trying to help, but making it worse.
Precisely. Their response encouraging the dancing likely turned what might have been a smaller, though still serious incident into a full-blown, deadly epidemic. It's a chilling lesson about intervening without fully understanding the problem.
A lesson that still resonates, maybe. And you mentioned modern parallels.
Yeah, the psychological dynamics, the social contagion, we still see them. That 2022 TikTok tics outbreak is a stark example. Thousands of teens, mostly girls, developing sudden tick-like behaviors spread through social media. A Lancet study looked into it.
So social media can be like the modern equivalent of those public stages amplifying things.
In a way, yes. It facilitates rapid social contagion. Or think about the Leroy, New York twitching incident in 2011. Dozens of students, again mostly girls, developed tics, ultimately linked to stress, not environmental toxins. These show that collective psychological responses are still very much a part of the human experience, just manifesting in new ways.
So what does this 500-year-old story really teach us today, beyond just being a bizarre historical footnote?
I think it offers profound insights into human psychology under extreme duress. It shows how societal pressures, famine, disease, inequality, profound uncertainty aren't just abstract concepts. They can have real, physical, and sometimes bizarre collective manifestations.
It really drives home the mind-body connection, but on a mass scale.
Absolutely. And it's still relevant for psychiatry. Mass psychogenic illness isn't gone. Experts estimated it affects 5–10% of populations during major crises. We saw waves of anxiety, strange symptoms reported during COVID, for instance. A 2023 APA report touched on this. Studying historical cases like Strasbourg helps therapists understand and treat these phenomena today.
It also paints such a vivid picture of that specific historical moment, doesn't it? The sheer volatility of 16th century Europe.
Definitely. It underscores the anxieties and tensions that were brewing right before huge changes like the Reformation. It wasn't just a weird dance party. It was a symptom of a society near its breaking point.
But maybe there are also lessons about resilience or crisis management.
Perhaps. Though tragically handled in 1518, understanding these events informs how we approach public health and psychological well-being during modern crises. And it highlights the vital importance of mental health support systems. Understanding the root causes, the anxieties, is key to preventing things from spiraling. Think about some collective behaviors during the pandemic, like those corona parties, irrational responses born out of fear and uncertainty.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the 1518 dancing plague. It seems like it was this horrifying perfect storm.
Likely, yeah, a complex mix. Maybe some physiological trigger like ergot, definitely fueled by extreme psychological distress, mass hysteria, amplified by social contagion and cultural beliefs, all happening against that backdrop of intense suffering and upheaval.
We might never know the exact single cause, if there even was one.
Probably not. But exploring it reminds us just how vulnerable human psychology can be, especially when society itself feels like it's cracking. It's not just history. It holds up a mirror to our own potential for collective responses under pressure.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, our listeners. This isn't just some weird medieval event. Looking at the modern parallels, it makes you wonder.
Yeah, what hidden stressors are bubbling under the surface in our world today? With our own unique pressures, our instant communication.
What unexpected collective behaviors could be triggered now? Something to think about. We really hope you found this deep dive into the dancing plague fascinating. If you did, and you appreciate what we do here, maybe consider buying us a coffee. The link's in the description.
And please, don't forget to like and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily for more deep dives. We'd also love to hear your theories on the dancing plague in the comments.
Yes, let us know what you think and tell us where you're listening from. It's great hearing from you all around the globe. Join us next time as we tackle another enigma, the enduring mystery of the ghost ship, the Mary Celeste.